Action figure reboots. Sponsored by Pearson Art.
Hello, and welcome back. In today's episode, we're looking at a Mego Robin, the Boy Wonder, which was released in 1972. He was part of the original four in the world's greatest superhero line, which also included Superman, Batman, and Aquaman. Now, it may seem strange that he has the same body size as the other three characters, considering he was the Boy Wonder, but looking back in hindsight, what was more unusual was the head sculpt. Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad head sculpt at all. In fact, it's really good. It's just that he hadn't really looked like that in the comics for at least 8 years. This is the way he looked in his first appearance in 1940, and pretty much the way he looked for the next 24 years. I mean, obviously, depending on the artist, there'd be different styles of him, but he basically looked the same. He really didn't change all that much. And then in 1964, DC introduced Batman's new look. Drawn by the late great Carmen Infantino, Batman sported a new yellow circle around his bat, and Robin's hair was parted on the side. And this look continued into other medium as well, like the 1960s Filmation cartoon, as well as the live action 1966 TV show. And then in 1969, when the late great Neil Adams took over the book, he changed yet again. Dick Grayson was aged up, sent to college, and officially became the Teen Wonder. This is how he looked in 1972. So, yes, in 1972, it did seem a little unusual for them to go with this design. Don't get me wrong, I think it's a great sculpt. I really do. When I was a kid, I loved the stories from the 40s and 50s, so I thought it was great. But I am a little surprised they didn't go with something even a little bit more mid 60s, if only to capitalize on the TV show being on 5 days a week. But for a Golden Age Robin, it's great. Figures Inc., or CTVT Toys, did just that and used this head sculpt for a first appearance Robin. I think it works. So for today's reboot, since I'm not going to be using the head because I think it's already been used for what it's perfect for, and the body and suit, I'd like to do something different with that, but that's for another episode. Today I'm just going to look at the mask. Obviously, not this mask because it's far too valuable. And not the reproduction either because it's vinyl and it's very thin. But something like this. Now, there's been four actors who've played Robin in live action: Douglas Croft from the 1943 serial Batman, Johnny Duncan from the 1949 serial Batman and Robin, Burt Ward from the 1966 TV show and movie, and Chris O'Donnell from 1995's Batman Forever. Now, they're all good in their own way, but I think I'm going to go with this one for today's reboot. I've always liked this suit. It was first designed in 1990 by, again, the late great Neil Adams. It was made for Tim Drake, who was the third Robin in the comics, but Dick Grayson also wore it in the animated series. So the suit actually predated this movie by about 5 years. When I first saw this suit, the mask actually reminded me a little bit of Migos. So, okay, let's begin. So, for this, we're going to need a head. Since we're not using the Robin head, I'm going to go with this. This is a reproduction Shazam head made by CTVT Toys. I'll put the link in the description. It comes in all different hair colors, so I got the one in brown. And this mask, I'm actually using it in black, but for some reason, they don't have a picture of that on their website. They must be sold out. So I put the two together, and this is what I came up with. Okay, I could go with this. Now, as I stated in my Batman video, uh, masks that come off don't really work. Don't ever work. And this is no exception. So I cut the back pieces off, did the panda eyes, and glued it on. and I think it looks a whole lot tighter. Now, I use this reproduction over an original because it's smaller, and I did that because I want to use this body. This is made for 6-inch figures. Mego used these back in 1976 for their Teen Titan line. For those of you who don't know, the Teen Titans is a team made up of all the sidekicks, and Robin was the leader, and yet the figure that Mego made was too big for him to be part of the team. I'd like to change that. Once I had this body, I had to use the forearms from a 5-inch body. I got them from a reproduction of a 5-inch body that CTVT made a while back. They don't make them anymore, but this is the figure that Mego used them for. They were on their Little Rascals line, or our gang. It's Alfalfa, and they were on smaller bodies. And I did that to accommodate these molded gloves. These were made for a female figure, and their arms are really thin, so I had to go down a smaller size on the forearms. And even then, I had to sand them down, but it ended up working. And then I took said arms and legs and painted them Kelly green. I actually tried out a couple different shades, but this is what I went with in the end. I think it works. Now, I picked up this, I don't know, onesie, I guess you'd call it. It comes in all different colors, and I guess they say they're made for 8-inch figures, but I think they fit the 6-inch bodies much better. I also picked up a pair of these black reproduction Teen Titan boots, a reproduction Batman cape in black. I actually got this from Doc Mego's Reproductions. He's actually involved with the new Migos, and he has a website that's a pretty good resource. I'll leave a link in the description. I got this reproduction Batman belt from his website as well. Uh, I had to modify it a little bit to fit the 6-inch body. I basically just shortened it a bit and made a new hole. For the emblem, I'm just going to go with this reproduction of the one Mego used. Uh, I I know I could have gotten one that was more screen accurate, but I thought I'd go with this one for all lang syne. Okay, we got all the parts. Let's put it together and see what we got. All right, I'm taking this. I know I left a few details off. I didn't make the inside of the cape yellow, and I didn't add those yellow lines from the animated series. And he does have kind of stitching in the movie version. I didn't add those. Mego never had them, so I wanted to kind of keep it in that style. I also didn't add the nipples, so there is that. Overall, I'm happy with this. It's got a modern take with a vintage vibe, and I hope you agree. Well, I guess that about wraps it up for today's episode. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe, share, comment. I'd love to hear from you. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, always remember and never forget, think outside the box.